How many of you here today have experienced lately an earthquake in Oklahoma over the past few years? Anybody? I know I have. Now, never in my life did I think that earthquakes would become a concern when I decided to move from Ohio to Oklahoma. But hydraulic fracking has become the center of controversy as wells that use this oil and gas production technique in Oklahoma and other states increase as the amount of seismic activity seems to increase along with the wells. Today I would like to discuss three main aspects involving hydraulic fracking and seismic activity. The first thing I would like to talk about is a short explanation of what hydraulic fracking is. The second thing I would like to talk about is studies that have been done to link hydraulic fracking and seismic activity. And the third thing I would like to talk about is whether hydraulic fracking could unleash or trigger a large seismic event. First, what is hydraulic fracking? Now, according to Dinsky, Shapiro, and Rutledge study, the interpretation of microseismicity resulting from gel and water fracturing of tight gas reservoirs, 2010. This states that it is a process using or propagating fractures in rock by inducing high pressure fluid or gel injection into a well site. In English, this means that they use fluid or gel to inject into a well site to put pressure on a rock to force it to crack in order to release oil or gas reservoirs. Now, it seems like it's been a new technology, but actually the first well in Oklahoma that used hydraulic fracking was in 1949. And since the mid-1970s, it's been a normal technique used in oil and gas production. Now, there are some other uses, and in the National Research Council report, Induced Seismicity Potential in Energy Technology 2012 says it's also used for production of geothermal energy in places like Switzerland, and it's also proposed to be used for carbon storage techniques. Now, being that hydraulic fracking requires the fracturing of rocks, studies have been done to see what the link is between fracking and seismic activity. Now, in states like Oklahoma and Texas, there's been increased seismic activity over above what the normal is. And in Oklahoma, reports started coming in that had to do with seismic activity that corresponded with fracking activities at a well in Garvin County. And in Austin Holland's examination of this, entitled Examination of Possibly Induced Seismicity from Hydraulic Fracturing in the Eola Field of Garvin County, Oklahoma, in the Oklahoma Geological Survey 2011, he discovered that over 50 seismic events were triggered within 24 hours of the beginning of production and the ceasing of production of this well site. Now, this seems like an easy correlation, but the problem was that all the seismic events were much shallower than the actual well site was, and the closest epicenter was 4 kilometers away from the well site. And another study that was done was in Texas in the Cotton Valley production area. They compared 3 wells there and did a normal hydraulic fracking operation. Once again, all 3 wells within 24 hours at the beginning and ceasing of fracking operation showed seismic activity. But the seismic activity was classified as microseismicity, which is earthquakes or activity between the 1 and 2 magnitude range, which is usually non-detectable by humans. Now, with the earthquakes and stuff, it seems like it would be easy, but also on top of this, most hydraulic fracturing operations take place in an area that are already known for seismic activity and also are already known for having fractured structures in rock. Now, what is the potential that hydraulic fracturing could then in turn induce a larger seismic event? Well, the evidence seems to point that hydraulic fracturing does trigger small seismic events. However, in all the recorded events, they've all been shallow in occurrence, small in magnitude, and non-destructive. And in all the studies, only one well has ever been proposed to have been linked to a magnitude of over 3 of a seismic event. With that being said, a 5.6 magnitude earthquake was reported to have been induced by hydraulic fracturing of a well for geothermal energy production in Switzerland. The problem with everything is that, as Randy Shostak's article, Induced Seismicity from Fracking and Carbon Storage, EOS 2012 reports, that with the thousands and thousands of wells out there, there's only been one confirmed or correlated report of an actual earthquake resulting from fracking activity. And the geological community states that, being that the understanding of the mechanisms that are needed for a hydraulic fracturing operation to trigger a large-scale event just don't seem to be evident, that it's highly unlikely that a fracking operation will trigger a large-scale earthquake. So, in conclusion, hydraulic fracturing continues to be at the center of debate in states like Oklahoma that are both oil producing and experiencing higher levels of seismic activity. Today I've talked about 3 aspects of hydraulic fracking and induced seismic activity. The first is a short explanation of what hydraulic fracturing is and how it's used. The second is studies that have been done to link or to understand hydraulic fracturing and possible induced seismic activity. And the final thing I discussed was whether or not hydraulic fracturing could actually trigger a large-scale seismic event or an earthquake. Now today it seems that there's still a lot of information that needs to be figured out to understand the risks that are posed by hydraulic fracking and seismic activity in states like Oklahoma that produce oil and gas. But assuredly, as the Sooner State continues to quake, hydraulic fracturing will be at the center of debate.